You meet someone, you fall hard, then it ends, and suddenly you're standing in the middle of your own life wondering why everyone else seems to move on so fast while you're still here, alone. Not because you can't find someone new, but because something inside you won't let you try. This isn't random. There's a psychological pattern here that most people never see. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why some people stay single long after the heartbreak fades. Here's what you need to know. There are 5 specific psychological facts that explain why certain people choose solitude over connection after losing someone they loved. And once you see them, you'll realize this behavior isn't weakness. It's something far more complex. Stay with me, because the third one reveals something about emotional memory that changes everything. Let's start with the first fact. People who stay single after heartbreak often develop what psychologists call hypervigilance to emotional risk. Your brain doesn't forget pain the way it forgets a phone number. It encodes it deep. And once you've been hurt in a way that felt like it rewired you, your nervous system starts scanning for danger before you even realize you're doing it. You meet someone new, they smile at you, and somewhere beneath your conscious awareness, your mind is already running simulations. What happens if this ends? What happens if I let them in and they leave? It's not fear in the normal sense. It's protection. Your brain learned that love can break you, so now it treats every potential connection like a threat assessment. And here's the part most people miss. This isn't you being difficult, it's you being smart. Your system is trying to keep you safe, but the cost is isolation. Now here's where it gets deeper. The second fact is about identity reconstruction. When you lose someone you loved, you don't just lose them. You lose the version of yourself that existed in that relationship. You lose the person who laughed at their jokes, who knew how they took their coffee, who had plans for a future that no longer exists. And after that ends, you're left with a question that has no easy answer. Who am I without them? Some people rush into new relationships to avoid that question, but the ones who stay single, they're the ones sitting with it. They're rebuilding from scratch, and that process takes time, longer than most people expect, because you're not just healing from what you lost, you're discovering what's left. And sometimes what's left doesn't feel like enough to offer someone new. Not yet. Here's a story that shows this. There was someone who ended a long relationship. For months, friends kept trying to set them up. They'd say no, not because they weren't lonely, but because every time they imagined being with someone new, it felt like pretending, like wearing a costume of who they used to be. So they stayed single, not out of stubbornness, but because they couldn't figure out how to be themselves and be with someone at the same time. That gap between who you were and who you're becoming, that's where the silence lives. The third fact is the one nobody talks about. People who stay single after heartbreak often experience what some describe as an emotional recalibration. Your tolerance for surface-level connection drops to 0. You've already been through the deep end. You've felt what it's like to know someone and be known. And now, small talk feels like sandpaper. Casual dating feels like a performance you don't have the energy to give. It's not that you're too picky, it's that your baseline shifted. What used to feel exciting now feels exhausting. And you'd rather be alone than fake enthusiasm for something that doesn't move you. Many describe it as a kind of emotional honesty you didn't have before. You know what real intimacy feels like, and you're not willing to settle for the imitation. But here's the fourth fact, and this one cuts deeper than the rest. Some people stay single because they're still emotionally tethered to the person who's gone. Not because they want them back, but because the bond didn't break the way bonds are supposed to break. Psychologists talk about something called ambiguous loss. It's when someone is physically absent, but psychologically present. You don't talk to them anymore, you don't see them, but you still feel them. In the songs you can't listen to, in the places you avoid, in the way you catch yourself thinking, what would they say about this? And the problem is this: you can't move forward with someone new when part of you is still turned backward. It's not about being stuck in the past. It's about the past still having a pulse. Here's another story. Someone once said they stopped dating because every time they were with someone new, they'd catch themselves comparing, not in an obvious way, but in small moments. The way this person laughed versus the way they laughed, the way this person listened versus the way they listened. And the comparison always felt unfair to the new person, to themselves. So they stopped trying because they realized they weren't actually available, not emotionally. And staying single felt more honest than pretending they were ready when they weren't. Now, pause for a second. Think about your own experience. Do you avoid connection because you're genuinely not interested, or because you're afraid of what it might cost you? And if someone asked you right now, what are you protecting by staying alone? What would you say? These aren't easy questions, but they're the ones that matter. Because here's the thing most people don't realize. The decision to stay single isn't always about not wanting love. Sometimes it's about not trusting yourself to survive losing it again. And then something happens that most people completely miss. You realize the solitude isn't just protection, it's become identity. You've spent so long building a life that works without someone else that the idea of letting someone in feels like dismantling everything you've created. This is the fifth fact. People who stay single after heartbreak often develop what some call adaptive independence. You learn to be okay alone. You learn to fill your own time, to make your own decisions, to sit with your own thoughts without needing someone to validate them. And that independence becomes sacred. It feels like freedom, and the cost of a relationship starts to look too high, because now you're not just risking heartbreak, you're risking the self-sufficiency you fought so hard to build. But here's the truth beneath all of this. Staying single isn't a failure. It's not something that needs to be fixed. But if you're doing it out of fear and calling it choice, that's worth examining. Because there's a difference between choosing solitude because it serves you and choosing it because you're too afraid to risk anything else. And only you know which one is true. So what do you do with all of this? First, give yourself permission to take the time you actually need, not the time other people think you should need. Healing doesn't run on a schedule. Second, pay attention to what you're protecting. Are you protecting your peace, or are you protecting your fear? There's a difference. Third, notice when you're comparing new people to old ghosts. It's not fair to either of you, and it keeps you trapped in a story that's already over. Fourth, ask yourself if your independence is empowering you or isolating you, because both can feel like strength, but only one actually is. And fifth, consider that being ready doesn't mean being fearless. It means being willing to try even when you're scared. Here's the last thing you need to hear. You're not broken because you're still single. You're not behind. You're not missing some deadline that everyone else met. You're exactly where you are, and that's allowed. Some people move fast, some people move slow, and some people stay still until they remember how to move it all. None of it is wrong. But if you're waiting for the pain to completely disappear before you try again, you might be waiting forever. Because the truth is, you don't heal and then live, you live and then you heal. And sometimes the only way forward is through the very thing you've been avoiding. If this resonated, consider subscribing, because understanding yourself is the first step to anything else.